Tatiana Suarez is an absolute wrestling phenom, but can she get past Zhang Weili? Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Laura Sanko here. Always, I am joined by the great Dean Thomas, also known as Old Dirty Bastard. I had to ask him about what the heck was on his wall. I was like, I'm sorry, is that a woman being accosted by a bear? And apparently it's an ODB album.
Yeah, it was it's an ODB album. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's an ODB. It's not like the album, it's a painting of
Oh,
ODB,
okay.
yeah, of ODB with his hands accosting a young lady.
I don't think she's mad about it.
No, she's not mad about it.
Not mad about it.
She's totally into it. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
totally into
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Anyway, it's relaxing. So, we're going to talk about UFC 312 co-main event. Dean, I am so excited for this fight. You have no idea. Before I go too far, I am such a fan of Tatiana. Well, I'm such a fan of both of these women. Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez for the Strawweight title. Zhang Weili is one of my favorite fighters ever. She has grown on me so much throughout her time as a champ. I always liked her, but now it's like, man, I love this woman. But Tatiana Suarez has one of, if not the best story of overcoming time and time and time again in MMA. And it's so hard not to want to cheer for that, to have a beautiful, not that it's the end of the story, but a beautiful next chapter. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Like you said, this was one that I'm excited about because I've always thought that Tatiana Suarez was the best strawweight in the world. Injury has killed her career. It also killed some of the faith that I had in her as being a champion, because just not being able to show up
Yeah.
is a real thing. But she finally gets the opportunity and to prove that she's the best strawweight in the world. She's got a tough task ahead of her. I don't know if she's the favorite in this spot, but I would not be surprised to see her as the favorite up against the champ, because everyone knows how good she is, how dominating she is. But this is such a great matchup and such a great fight, because such a contrast of styles in itself too, and a contrast in body types,
Yes.
which makes things interesting when you watch fights, because body type is never really talked about.
This is why I love having you on the show. I was literally thinking, my hair is still somewhat wet. I was literally thinking about that exact thing in the shower, because it does matter. It absolutely matters. Anybody who has ever grappled or had any exchange on the feet understands, but I think especially in grappling, mechanics, leverage, like how your weight is distributed in your body. They seem like ridiculous details that, like, oh, that doesn't really matter. It absolutely matters. Absolutely matters.
That stuff matters, but because most people don't think it matters,
Hmm.
they normally attribute those differences to things like, oh, he's just so much stronger,
Strength. Yep.
right?
Yep.
To strength. And it's not really that. It's just their body type and how you're able to use your body type to your advantage. And a lot of people don't really know how. And a lot of that has to do with training. You know, sometimes when you train in like really big rooms and the guy who's coaching this really big room has a certain body type and he's teaching moves a certain way. And it's like, yo, that's not how I do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do mine a little different. And they're looking, that's not how to do it. So body types is important. But the good thing for like Weili Zhang, like, she's shorter and she uses her body well for her size. And she's built a team around her, which kind of gives her some advantages in how she uses her body. But in terms of Tatiana, she's such a good grappler, and she's been doing that style her entire life. And the fact that are they married yet, her and Patchy Mix?
No, but they're engaged.
They're engaged. Okay, so her fiance, Patchy Mix, who's probably the best 135 pounder in the world, and I'm sure the best grappler at 135 pounds in the world. I mean, they got some tricks up their sleeve.
Yeah.
And they're built the exact same way. So I know that they're working on these tricks. So I think that's a really big factor. Yeah.
That's a real thing. And I mean, you can joke about it or whatever, but that's a real thing. Like, they are at home talking about this stuff all day long, right? They're having dinner and it comes up and like, oh yeah, I really struggled today when so and so took me down and they got this little foot hook and I just couldn't quite. They're gonna put their Chinese food down and get move the coffee table and figure it out. It is like having 24/7 access to a perfect training partner who has been there and done that at the highest level.
And both of them, I mean, both of them have
Yes.
been at high levels of their craft.
Yes.
I was talking to Boss Rutan a week ago, and Boss Rutan was telling me, I was like, so who do you train with? He's like, man, I don't train with nobody. But he's like, but when he watches fights, he studies fights, and he's always looking for different ways to do things. And he's like, his training partner, he's like, I just grab my wife and I work and I work on these moves with my wife, and that's how I know that they work. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that is what a benefit that is to have someone at full time at your disposal that you can just grab and go, hey, let me try this move out.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
It really truly is a thing. And like you said, body types are absolutely a thing. And the way that your body type compares to someone else's body type. I run into that all the time on this channel when I'm doing BJJ demonstrations with Paul, my training partner. Like we roll together all the time, and like I can do certain things, or excuse me, I can't do certain things to him because of the width of his shoulders, for instance. Like I can only get triangles on him from certain positions. If I don't have the most extreme angle you've ever seen in your entire life, if I have to fight for the angle, it's not going to happen because the length of my shin compared to the length of his back, it's just not going to happen. So you know what happens? I don't do triangles very often.
Mm.
It's
And you got shorter legs.
I am built like a dachshund. I'm built like
Yeah.
a wiener dog. This
Yeah.
is a fact. This is an absolute
So
fact.
it's harder for you.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you watch long-legged people grapple, the way that they are able to use their grapevines, or if they're long and flexible on top of it, the way that they're able to, throw up a leg and invert and do things that otherwise they wouldn't. But then you got the stocky fighters who can get underneath and
Hmm.
just, I mean, not Tanya, excuse me, Zhang Weili's legs. I mean, the woman picked up Shaquille O'Neal with minimal effort, might I add. She wasn't like about to hurt herself.
Right. Well, and that brings it, like you talked about grappling. Like I was Shaquille O'Neal's jiu-jitsu coach for a little bit. We did
Were
a
you
couple.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I worked with him a bit, and he still calls me from time to time, like, "Yo, man, I got a fight coming up, man. I need
Wait,
your
hold on
help."
1 second. I gotta pick up the name that you just dropped real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
Ah. Well, to be fair, you said it first.
I didn't say I ever talked to Shaq. I was
Well,
saying
I did. I'm just spitting the fact. You'll pick up that name, but no. But there's certain things you can't do to him. Like you can't Kimura him. You can't keep because his arms are so long. Like
yeah.
you can't make connections because he's just so long. Like the only, and that's a very real thing. Like you have to be able to work within the limitations of your body type. And I think that Tatiana Suarez has mastered that. I
Mm-hmm.
think she's mastered that. And I think the Weili Zhang has done it too. But here's the biggest difference is that I believe, and I talked about Weili building a team around her. The only thing that concerns me about the team around her is that they focus so much. You're going to hate me for this. The
On
fans are going to hate
strength
me
and
for this.
conditioning.
But she focuses so much, it seems to me, on strength and conditioning.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
And I'm like, that's never been a problem for her.
Yeah.
And I think that they're in their head, they're thinking, well, she just got to be, hit a little harder, hit a little fast. But if she ends up on her back, flat on her back in this fight, I don't care how many sleds she pushed. I don't care how many tires she flipped. It's not going to work. She's not going to get Tatiana Suarez off of her if she ends up flat on her back at some point in this fight. Especially if Tatiana Suarez, she'll surf on you. She'll ride you. And she will let you exert your energy and she'll just move into a different position. And then you'll do something, another big, strong, explosive movement. She'll let you do it and then she'll move into another position. And that's why having positional awareness is always better than strength. And people say, oh, well, what about this guy? What about that guy? Well, maybe that guy doesn't have great positional awareness at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But I think Tatiana Suarez does have it.
I think she's got probably the best positional awareness other than Jillian Robertson, that I can think of in that, and which I realize Jillian's not down there anymore, but that in that division, right?
Jillian's in that division. Yeah, she's still there.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Yeah.
She was at 25 for a while. She's back.
Yeah.
Apologies. Um, yeah, Tatiana Suarez's grappling level has been amazing to watch. And like you said off the top, it's only been these horrendously long layoffs, back to back to back at times, that have really stifled her. But I hope that my hope and my belief is, and I'm not saying necessarily this is the fight, but my hope and my belief is that at the end of the day, when the whole book is written, that those injuries end up being some sort of cocoon to her butterfly, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Timing is everything.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. And the fact that she overcame cancer when she was on the cusp of being an Olympic athlete, then she wins the Ultimate Fighter. She has a horrendous neck injury in the Nina Ansaroff fight was evidence of that. She has
Mhm.
a insane knee injury after that, blew everything you can blow in your knee. And then, I mean, I can't even list them all. I mean, years and years and years on the sideline to the point where people forget to mention her name, right? People forget to say her name. She is the forgotten boogie woman of this division, and that's a fact. And that's why I'm so excited for this fight because I don't see anybody else standing in line, and I'm like, oh, that girl could beat Zhang Weili because that's how good Zhang Weili is.
Yeah, I hate that she's been plagued with all these injuries because that can have an effect on her, if not physical, a physical effect, a mental effect going into a fight, thinking, am I ready? Like you can do all the training you want, but there's just something about being under those lights, having all these injuries, and then still thinking, am I ready? Am I ready for this? Am I ready for this? I
Mhm.
mean, we saw it with like Chris Weidman. When Chris Weidman came back from the leg injury,
Mhm.
he threw a first kick, testing it out, and then he just kind of went crazy throwing kicks with that leg
Or
because
Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill
yeah,
even coming.
yeah, like even Jamal Hill, maybe a step behind. So it's hard to say because, and I think that that's going to be a really big factor in this fight. I think the biggest factor in this fight is going to be foot speed
Hmm.
and foot speed coupled with positional awareness. Because Tatiana is longer, she doesn't have to move her feet as fast as long as she's in the right spots. But if she's compromised because her legs aren't working that great, and I'm not sure that she had great feet anyway,
Yeah.
so that could be an issue. But if Zhang Weili has really fast feet and is moving in and out, she's going to be a problem to deal with.
Do you think Whaley even does some offensive grappling? Because I mean, the biggest thing between pre-Rose Namajunas fights and post-Rose Namajunas fights for Zhang Weili, she became an absolute menace on the ground. What she did to Amanda Lemos was just she big sistered her the entire freaking fight and dominated her. Her wrestling looks incredible. Do you think it's good enough where she can be like, you know what? Maybe I initiate a takedown. Maybe I put her on her back.
I think that would be a mistake.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be again body types, right? Body types matter. I think that would be kind of a mistake going up against someone as long as Tatiana, who's probably really good at chokes.
She's got a good
And
toss.
yeah, really good at darces and ninja chokes and anacondas. And I think if Weili Zhang decides that she wants to shoot in and start taking shots, I think she's going to be met with a choke that she might not be able to get out of.
Hmm.
I mean, there are some times where like it's going to be to her advantage to take some shots to keep Tatiana off balance and make her look a little foolish at times because she can do that. Like she's going to be a little bit faster on her feet and have a little bit better swag on her feet and taking shots. But I think that if she's like taking shots and starts to grapple and try to grapple in and out of situations, I think that's the mistake.
Hmm.
That will be a mistake for her to like fully engage in a bunch of grappling transitions. But if she's just doing it to keep Tatiana off balance, benefit,
Yeah.
complete benefit.
Let me read through some of these stats because sometimes I forget to do this on the co-main event and I'm remembering right now. So let's get it done while my brain's working. Still a little jet lagged from Saudi Arabia. We've got Zhang Weili 9-2 in the UFC. Tatiana Suarez 7-0 in the UFC. It's just taken place over a very long period of time. The reach for Weili is 63 inches. It's 66 for Tatiana Suarez. Suarez is a southpaw. That's another interesting factor in this fight, I think. 35 for Zhang Weili and 34 for Tatiana Suarez, so pretty close in age. Striking accuracy for Zhang Weili, 53.5% to 64.0% for Tatiana Suarez. Strikes landed per minute, 5.66 for Zhang Weili, 4.27 for Tatiana, which is actually higher than I thought it would be for Tatiana. This is interesting. So takedown average per 15 minutes, 2.51. That's pretty dang high for Zhang Weili. That's 2.51 is actually pretty high. It's 6.2 for Tatiana Suarez. You know what Marab's is? Marab's is 5.39. If that doesn't tell you, I mean, good Lord. Good.
Yeah, that's pretty high.
Very high.
To be fair, though, she's in a division where
Of
the
course.
wrestling discrepancy is a bit
It's
bigger.
tremendous.
Yeah, it's tremendous. Can I drop another fact, another name
Yes,
fact? All
please
right,
do.
so and I want to I think, but I'm just gonna and put myself out there like that. When Tatiana Suarez won the Ultimate Fighter, I think that was in LA, or I think it was. I can't remember, but I think I watched that with Shaq in
Okay.
attendance. Yeah, so it comes full
Wait, hold on.
circle.
Let me get it again.
It comes full circle. I was hanging out with Shaq at the UFC. We went to the UFC together, and I think we watched Tatiana Suarez win the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm not mistaken.
That's pretty crazy. What's he
Yeah.
like to hang out with? Not that this video is about
No, he's extremely generous, extremely down to earth. Um, Took us to McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
oh, yeah, too. Yeah, get some fries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really, really cool dude. Like I said, every so often he'll call me every once in a while and check in. So
that's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
You guys have that connection.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be definitely a full circle moment like you're talking about. Uh, I guess the numbers kind of tell the story, but they never tell the full story. So, in your mind, what's this fight end up looking like? What's it?
I
Well,
think
before you have to paint the picture, so because sometimes I think this is easier. Like, what's the one thing that you would be telling each fighter to do if you were in their corner?
well, I think this is the burden is on Weili Zhang here, and she has to have good movement, and which she does. It's not like she doesn't. She does. And sometimes she can get sucked into these brawls a little bit because she's forced to, because like, when she's going up against Joanna or Rose, and like these girls can scrap with her.
Hmm.
Like Tatiana can't really scrap with her like that. So she's got to avoid the brawl and just stay on the outside. I think she's got super fast leg kicks. It's going to be a little bit harder dealing with a southpaw, but she can change them into body kicks. And, she switches stances a little bit. I think that she's got to use her footwork, her foot speed, her leg kicks, and she can't let herself get corralled into the fence and she definitely can't end up on her back flat. Like,
Hmm.
like if she hits the ground, here's the problem though, is that when she hits the ground, like they might be working on, her rolling over to her knees to stand up. And I think that's a problem too. I
Yeah.
think Tatiana takes her back when she does that and probably can choke her out if that happens. So I think she's just got to fight a really clean, disciplined fight on the outside and touch her up using a lot of foot speed, leg kicks, and body kicks. But for Tatiana, she's got to corral her.
Yeah.
She's got to be a big presence. Like we saw Michael Venom Page over the weekend, this last weekend, and he's such a big presence inside the octagon. Like he covers so much space with his body. And I think Tatiana needs to do that. Like whenever Weili Zhang moves, she's got to cut her off, put her back where she wants her, cut her off, put her back where she wants her. And then in order to get hit, like they give you, if they can touch you, you can shoot on them. And she's got to recognize that.
Hmm.
And she just has to time those shots right. So just being able to corral Weili Zhang into a spot, wait for
Yeah.
her to come in, boom, get her down.
Especially from that open stance. I mean, it's the length when you are the southpaw and you are the wrestler is a really handy thing to have because that single leg is just always right there. It just seems so tempting to just be able to reach down and snatch it up from that open stance too.
You know what's funny is that's not a common takedown in wrestling from
I
that
know, but
side.
I don't know why people. I mean,
And
it's
no one does it. And no one does it because when
I'm
I
trying
go
to
to
remember
different
who's
gyms,
really good. I'm trying to remember. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but there's someone, and it's gonna kill me. I don't know who it is now, but someone that I studied recently had the nastiest snatch single ever. Like literally just boop, just that little pull, and then they're in.
well, it's like a Yoel Romero snatch. Like Yoel, when Yoel Romero would do it, he would just snatch you off your feet.
Hmm.
But that's the key, right? When especially from that open stance, you just snatch it and pull them and then grab them. But
Yep.
no one does that because I think that in wrestling, it's not a real common technique because most guys are like shooting doubles or just different shots. But to shoot that snatch single, it's not a common technique from that stance, and it's weird that no one really picked up on to use it more.
Yeah, I agree.
Not many people. Not many people.
Well, hopefully she has that in her arsenal because I feel like that could be a real weapon for her in this fight. Being
Well,
interesting.
that I think that's the thing. That's the key here, especially when you're dealing with wrestling. It's not just these, and I tell this to the fighters I work with. It's not generic shots that work.
Hmm.
They may work against people who suck, but the more specific you are about the type of shot that you take, the better your chances are of getting in and then having an answer if it doesn't work. It's when you take these very generic shots from too
Standard double
far.
leg.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just I'm just shooting a double, and where I land, I'm just going to grab them and push them into the fence. The likelihood of those working are very low. The probability is low. If
Hmm.
you can really specify the exact shot that you want, and especially like open stance, closed stance, you got to specify the exact shot that you want and be able to execute that.
Yeah, exactly. So, you have a pick?
I think that, and I'm going with my heart here. I think because I try to go with timing and conditions, and I think that Tatiana, like you said, that cocoon of those injuries, and this is her butterfly moment. I
Mhm.
think that that's the situation here. Um, I think that she gets it done. I think Tatiana is going to find a way to get this to the ground. She might get beat up a little bit early, but I think she'll find a way to get this to the ground, and then we'll just see this different level of grappling from her that we haven't seen before.
What a beautiful moment that would be if that is the case. I mean, happy for either, sad for either, but for Tatiana, but to finally be able to realize that moment that we've have felt like is so inevitable for so many years. I can't even imagine what it has been like to like be laying in a bed, sometimes not even able to walk, and watching this division move on without you, new champion after
Mm.
new champion after new champion, and sitting there constantly measuring yourself from a bed. Could I beat her? Could I beat her? And I know that she had to be like, yes, yes, I
And
could,
thinking,
and
when
I
I get
will.
up from this bed, I'm kicking your
I'm about to
I'm putting hands on
I'm put
somebody
some
when I
hands
get out
on
this
these
bed.
strawweights. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, either way, it is going to be a fantastic fight, and we appreciate your insights as always, Dean. Guys, check out UFC 312 this weekend and check out the rest of the channel. We've got a main event breakdown as well. Lots of jiu-jitsu demonstrations. Adam Cattrall, of course, adding his magic to the channel, which we appreciate very much. So click like, click subscribe. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time.